Okay, so everybody, I have got here some deep magenta almond, and I chose this one because we're doing something today about nothing, about absence. One of the most important principles in the universe. When something isn't there, it's an incredible kind of an elemental home for creativity, for something to happen, and for all kinds of stuff. Anything can happen when there's nothing. So this deep magenta is so profoundly grounding deep in the earth, and yet it's taking us into a sort of no mind, rich space. So I'm just letting light come down through the color into my body. And I'm shining it to everybody out there. The most deep, relaxing. It's like that music from the Tibetan monks, you know, this boom, 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 boom kind of sound. So I'm putting it on in my aura because I really need it too. Oh my God, it feels good. I can feel it healing the EMF, the electromagnetic stuff. Okay. So I hope anybody else also got anything out of it. And today, I want, just before I start into the open centers, just a couple of things about last time. Whenever people start to learn about human design, they tend to get very nervous about remembering stuff. You know, there's an idea that it's some intellectual exercise that we have to remember all these things, when actually that's absolutely not the way you have to. You can really let go and relax about it, because whatever is relevant for you, it will come up at the right time. It's gone in, you know, it's gone in. You didn't have to work hard to get it in. It just goes in. And in the right moments, it will pop up. And it might be years from now that something will pop up. But it will come in the right time. So don't worry about remembering stuff, really. There's enough stuff in our heads already. We don't have to worry about it. Then, the other thing was about third lines, because there was just a little bit more I wanted to say about third lines in relationship. There's a theme where when a third line first meets a possible other, they will seem so open. They're the most open person anybody has ever met. And it's true, they are. But the time will come, and it might come again and again, when the third line has to break the bond and go away. And in a relationship, it's good if both people know that this is okay, that sometimes this person just has to go away, and then they will probably come back again if all is well. But they might even in their life many times break bonds in a kind of, you know, like I have a sibling who has a third line in her profile, and more than once I've heard her say, "I'm disowning the entire family." And she wants to disown me for 3 years. That's what they do, third lines. They, you know, hatchet. They can just break things. So don't get too worried if that happens. Another job for the 1-3 particularly is breaking old structures in the society, challenging things that seem to be old and past, and they can be quite fierce about it. So that could happen in a relationship too. Anyway, that's all about that. And I wanted to ask Tonya, especially for you, because I know you are worried about this intimacy style. First of all, this is all an experiment. and this is for all of you, that this human design is an experiment. It's not to be stuck in your head in this kind of structure. It's about allowing yourself to play with it and see what works for you and what doesn't work. So anything that doesn't feel right to you, just let it be there and don't worry about it. And see, maybe in 10 years it will make sense, or maybe it won't, or maybe in 20 years. But you don't have to worry, because we're not living through the head that this has to be true. Then, anybody with a fifth line in her profile, and Tonya, because of the revised time, 5, but a 3-5, but that's still a 5. They call this a kind of, there's a kind of karmic story where you are going to have a very beautiful effect on the people in your life. This is your trajectory, and it goes through many lives. You're here to impact people in a kind of healing and beneficial way. You don't have to worry about that, it just happens. But in this, you end up meeting people that you have met before. I don't know why it's particularly the fifth line that's like this, but anybody in your life, it's very likely that you've known them before and that you're with them for a particular reason. So there is a theme I've often noticed throughout someone with a fifth line in the profile. It's often relevant for them to do some past life work. With past life work, it's important that we don't worry about whether past lives exist or not, because what's relevant is what works. And if something comes up in a past life exercise that clicks with you, that releases you, that's real. It doesn't matter if it's from the collective unconscious, if it's from some storehouse of past lives or one that actually belongs to you. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that something happens and it works. And in your case, it would seem that it was set up before you were born. Certain difficulties, actually for all of us, this is the case. Human design says nothing is broken, nothing needs fixing. We are here to have a life precisely as we are. And the things that stick up, the exaltations and the detriments, the thing that sticks down on those columns of numbers, they have to be just the way they are, because this is helpful for our soul's journey. So in the position of the earth, the conscious earth, Tonya, you have this in a gate called retreat, which is on a defined center, so it's something that's really yours. And that gate really is about privacy. It's about stepping away from the world and finding your own space. And you have it in a particular nuance of being forced to retreat, not able to see the regenerative qualities of the retreat, even though they're there. And the next one, which is the moon, which is your driving force, is in a gate called shock. And with the new timing, that is now in a nuance called withdrawal. So again, this is about stepping back, feeling shocked and stepping back. And this is in very important positions. This is the the earth and the moon. So these will be very big effects in your design. And they could easily obscure this gate on an open center, which isn't even really you, which is the gate of sexuality. So I hope that brings a little bit more clarification there. Sometime or other I can share about methods for past life work, but not the time for that now. Okay, so does anybody want to share anything, how you're doing since last week with the profiles before we move into the work that we're doing today?
I had a question coming up, if that's okay. Can you hear me?
It's very quiet.
Hello?
I can't hear.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, but you're very quiet. So just speak up a bit if you can.
Is it better?
Oh, Nuri. Yeah, Nuri. Yeah, your computer's always so quiet.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you hear me
This
better?
is clearer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I for past week I haven't been doing anything. It's been busy for me, but I just had a question coming up from what you were saying about Tonia. Um, it was more about understanding the chart.
Yes.
Like you said, third line, fifth line, because I see in my. Does it mean the numbers at the end? I was calculating my lines, and I see number 1 and number 4 are 5 times repeating. So,
Uh-huh.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I am 4/6. So that means 1 is also dominant in me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good question. And yes, it means that there is a certain preponderance of that quality of the investigative, digging deep, making a ground under your feet. If you've got a lot of the line 1, that's not a lot, but it's significant.
Yeah, it's same as 4.
Okay.
So,
Anybody else?
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, but still, it's not as powerful as the position of the profile. But still, it's important that there's a lot of them.
So
Okay, somebody
I've
else?
officially
Yeah.
yes, I've officially started a relationship now with this person I was dating. So we're now boyfriend girlfriend. Yay! Because I like official, like where are we at, what's going on. I do like to know. And so I'm a 5/1 and he's a 2/5 profile. So as far as I understand, that means we have a harmonic between the 5 and the 2. But what I was wondering is whether my first 5 and his second 5 are also like make this friendship connection as well. So we have
Yeah.
both or not,
Yeah.
even though it's not
Yeah.
great.
Yes. If you've got the same number in the profile, this is a companionship.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's also a harmonic, then that's a double whammy because there's a harmonic in one place and a companionship in another place. That's great.
Okay. And what I've noticed is that we both have like hardly any third line. So I have one third line in my profile and he has none. So
Uh-huh.
is there anything, I mean, do you normally want someone who has more of what you don't have, or is it nice to have someone who doesn't have what you don't have, or is there anything you can say about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that part. There's enough things to worry about. I wouldn't worry about that. It's very rare that somebody doesn't have any of a certain line. I have only seen it maybe 3 times in all of
Yeah.
my years. So this is amazing. It just means they don't need it. They don't need that thing. And the third line is about bumping into things, making mistakes, trial and error.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, it's
You
just
don't need
not
that.
needed.
No.
No.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Anybody else?
Um, I, I would like to follow up on what Cassandra mentioned at the beginning about this clarity of whether you are in a relationship or not, because this brings up something from my past that I wonder. I'm pretty sure there's something in the design, and I think it's related maybe to the tribal
Yeah.
channel.
Okay.
But what happened to me in my last relationship, I was in that relationship twice over 3 or 4 years, and what happened that it was very strange and confusing to me because my partner, I don't even know whether to call him my partner. For me, he was my partner. For him, we were together on a journey, and basically he was open to, okay, something comes his way and he might be out of it, on any day. And for me, it was such a struggle to experience this way of being because there was no commitment for me. Or maybe I understood commitment in a different way. And at the same time, I know that I don't have this tribal channel. I think that maybe we'll be talking about. So I'm discovering what's right for me.
This, to me, has a lot to do with women and men and the ages of them. So I'm stepping aside from human design for a moment with this, because this is again and again what we hear with women in reproductive years, that the biology seems to be demanding that a man hangs in. And the man's biology is very often demanding that he runs around and spreads things here and there. Human design says life begins at 50. And my own experience is that the reproductive hormones are a kind of drug. They actually obscure us from ourselves. When they start ebbing away, we can really see ourselves much better. So you would be having a lot of passionate, emotional experiences anyway, because with open emotion, the emotions actually get amplified. And you do have open emotional. We will come to that today. You have the channel of power arena. And as a woman, this will have been discouraged. Since you were born, your parents, without realizing it, saw all this power in you, and they were afraid for you that it will get you in trouble. And they were conditioned that women aren't allowed to be so powerful. So they would have been squashing you without knowing it, and trying to squash you out of love. But your own health demands that you embrace your power. And when you can't embrace your power, you can very easily project it onto the man and then long after him, hunger for him. In his power, he's wandering off, and your power is squashed. And then jealousy can come up very strongly. So those are a few elements, both in human design and not, that have to do with this. My own experience, because I have a lot of experience in that whole realm of women and men not wanting to stick around, and me wanting them to stick around and wanting this one is mine. And, we have to allow the full pain of it, the full power of our howling, shrieking, freaked out, hungry, passionate selves, because life wants us to be total. And if we're not total, it doesn't ever transform. It transforms through being total, even though it makes us into a sorry idiot half the time. Hungry, longing, howling, crying, wanting. It doesn't help anything to hold back. Although we're not allowed to dump it on the other person. We have to have ways in our meditation that we can fully live it. So no, you're not tribal. And when you come to menopause, you will find yourself suddenly so free, because you're not anymore caged by that need to have somebody belong to you. But for now, it has to be allowed. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right. So I think we'll proceed. If everybody has your chart with you, you will notice that there are the things colored in and the things that are not colored in. When I give a reading, the stuff that's colored in, actually I leave for last. This is the dessert. When I'm telling people what their gifts are, this is after we've gone through everything else. And particularly what we have to deal with first is what you're not. So every open center is a place where you are here to become wise. You're here to become an expert. And it's a long journey, and it's a very visceral journey to get to that wisdom. It doesn't happen right away. From the time you're born, and even before when you're in the womb, you are getting conditioned in those open centers by everybody around you. In the womb, you are being deeply conditioned by your mom. We are supposed to get conditioned. This is, every interaction is a conditioning, can be very nourishing, but we are being asked by life to find out what is ours and what is not. And we only have peace when we are living what's ours and not identifying with the stuff that isn't ours. But we start out identified and we go on identified all our lives. Now, all those open centers, your mind is extremely interested in them. Your mind works through them. And your mind wants to stay as it is, and it wants everything to stay as it is. And whenever something begins to transform, your mind knows exactly how to hook you to keep you scared so that you will keep things as they are. And this is shown in different ways through these different open centers. The way that a center becomes wise, an open center, is like this. Everywhere you go, you meet people. They have something colored in that you don't. When you're in their aura, you take in their energy and you amplify it. And you have an experience. You are feeling their energy twice as much as they are. And when you're under the influence of their energy, you will do things and say things that you would not do if you were alone or with a different person, because you are living from that other person's energy right then. Whatever you start living in that way, everybody thinks it's you. And they might get mad at you for it, or they might think how wonderful it is, but they think it's you. When you go away from the person, or they go away from you, the experience also goes away. And you look back on it from your privacy and you think, this happened, that happened. And over a long life, when this happens many times with many different people, you can get an objective overview of that chakra and become an expert about it. This is very beautiful. So there's a tremendous beauty in your colored in chakras. This is you. These are your gifts. And there's a tremendous beauty in the open chakras. This is your wisdom. And there also can be brilliance in open centers. It's simply that they are inconsistent. They don't have a consistent style of operating. So energy comes and goes. Sometimes nothing is there, sometimes fog, sometimes brilliance is there, but you can't count on it. So we're going to go through them one by one and look at what they are when they're defined, what they are when they're not defined, and what the brilliance, what the wisdom can be. The very top chakra is called the head center. When it's colored in, this is about receiving light, energy from the sky to help us understand what human beings are doing here on Earth. So it asks all the big questions. Who are we? What are we doing? Where are we going? Where have we come from? Now, it's kind of a crazy thing because the head cannot understand that. It's not possible because the mind is a mechanistic thing. It's not very big. It can't understand a wholeness. It only can divide this or that. It can't grok an entire thing. So it's not suited to understand who humans are and what they're doing here, but it still tries. It tries and it tries and it tries. That's when it's colored in. And it can be a lot of fun. with research, with study, with formulating, figuring out, creating. It can be a lot of fun. When it's open, that pressure from the sky to understand can be felt as a double pressure. And it's not yours. It's got in it all the crap that everybody has ever thought, the whole collective junk that's floating around the planet in the jet stream, downloading randomly all over the place. The history, the editorials, the opinions, all the mind stuff that's ever been is floating around. And when you have that open, it's very likely to come floating in. And if you believe it, and then you try hard to figure out, or worse yet, to do something about it, you get lost and you suffer because you're above the neck, vibrating, trying to choose something, and it's all unreal. When it's open, one of the dangers is to worry. Worrying about things that don't matter, worrying about things you can't do anything about, worrying for other people, trying to figure out other people's lives. And it's not you. So one beautiful key for open heads, go out in nature. The wind blows through your head and you look at the trees and you look at the sky and there's no need to think anything. And you get sort of cleaned. So that's for the head center, and the ajna, which is the one right underneath it. Going out in nature is a very good thing. It's actually very comfortable to have an open head center because it can act like a sort of chimney for all of your energy to get pulled nicely up, into the gods, into the sky. If you let it be empty, if you're not entertaining all of its pressure and its mind stuff. Next, we're going to look at the Ajna center. Oh, I'll just tell you first who has an open center among everybody who's here. Nuri, Linda, Joanna, Arina, Umi, and Anka all have open head center. I also have. And it was very helpful for me when a human design friend told me that it was apt to happen that in the middle of the night, I would wake up and start worrying. But it's not really me. And when she told me that, it was so helpful because when I woke up in the night and started to worry, I could just remember, oh yeah, it's not me. And then, then it was like, I'm not hooked in it. Okay, the Ajna center, which is directly, yes.
Sorry, I have a question that Tonya asked here.
Yeah.
If the color matters, because it's orange or yellow or.
Right. So Ra, the founder of this whole system, he said that the voice that told him all of it wasn't interested in the colors really. It didn't seem to think they mattered. However, it did tell him what colors to put on the chart. So he did. And he has no idea if they mean anything. When I was making for years, I found it oppressive to use just those colors. So I was putting any color that I wanted in, and I don't think it did any harm to anything. So no, it's not really very important. Okay, the ajna is your style of thinking, the way that you formulate. It's kind of the engine of your thought styles. And there is possible there these three different flavors: individual, tribal, and collective. Individual and collective only for the head. But we'll look at those later. So the Ajna center, it's your style of thinking. And if you have it colored in, you have a consistent way of thinking. You know, there's a certain solidity to it. You think in the same way again and again and again. When it's not colored in, you don't have a consistent style. And you might feel very doubting of yourself because you're talking to one person and you agree with what they're saying. You know, it's totally convincing to you. Oh, yes, of course, it's like that. Then 10 minutes later, you're talking to somebody else and they say something completely different and you're going, oh, of course, it's like that. And you might think, my God, well, how wishy-washy idiot I am. But this is normal for the open head. It's supposed to be like this because you're mirroring the other person. You're taking in their thoughts, actually, you know, their whole thinking style. Now, when both the head centers are open, which is very common, very often people have both the head centers open. I've been watching this for a long time because my mom had both of those. And it's a difficulty for people in their life often because in school, you are expected, first of all, to be intellectual above all things. And you're expected to have a consistent way of being intelligent, to do everything basically the same way all the time. But if you have open heads, it's not going to be like that. You will be like on shifting sands in your mind. There's always stuff coming in and going out, and you can't get a grasp on it. Now, this makes people very nervous because they feel expected to have something there. And nobody is taught about their inner authority, you know, to go with your gut, to go with your feeling. So people are trying to live from the head and to decide their actions from their head, to plan how they're going to live, to control things from the head. And human design says, we are the passenger, we're not the driver. So people feel very uneasy with the open head. And so what they do is they tend to grab hold of some opinions that they get along the way, and they hold on to those opinions and make them quite, I am this, I feel like this, I think it's this, and my opinion is this, and it shouldn't be like that, and it should be like this. When actually you are here, if you have both your head centers open, you're here to become wise about the human mind. And I call that possibility Zen mind. It means you have the possibility to become wise about this amazing phenomenon of the mind, which is in some ways very subtle and in other ways very gross. An analogy could be that it's like you're meant to sit by the road and watch the traffic. You watch the bullock carts and the trucks and the pigs and the people, everything going by. You don't have to run out into the road and lie down under the truck. You don't have to steer the truck. You don't have to dance on top of the truck. You just watch. People sit in monasteries for, 30 years to learn how to observe their mind. And this would be a natural ability for somebody with the open heads if they're not busy trying to stuff them full of opinions just to feel something is there. Now, in relationship, if you have something defined in your head and your partner does not, it can be a little bit weird for you because you want something solid to grapple with in the conversation. You want something to chew on. And this other person is kind of spacey. Yes, sometimes they will say something amazing, really clear, really brilliant. And other times they're kind of, gah. And it's frustrating for you because you want to, grapple with something. If you have the head open and you're looking at somebody with the colored in one, you might feel envious that you also want that kind of certainty, and you might try to have it. But the whole point is the head doesn't matter that much in the way you live your life anyway. It's better to not give it so much attention. My mother, she was so much like this. I mean, we could tell her anything and she would so much agree with us. Any child that told her something, she would say, "Oh, yes, darling. Oh, of course. Oh, yes." But another child could tell her something totally different and she'd go, "Oh, yes, of course." And she had opinions. She hated, for example, Hungarians. I don't know why, something that had happened in her life. And then anytime you push the button, all you have to do is say the word Hungarian and something's going to come out. She hated Christians, especially Protestants. All you had to do was say Christians and then all this stuff would come out, which was very boring because it went on repeating. Albert Einstein had both his head centers open. Albert Einstein was not just a fantastic mathematician or physicist, he was also a mystic. He channeled, you read some of his things. So all open centers can be brilliant. So if you have your head centers, one or both open, I would encourage you to experiment with letting go of the kind of vice grip that your mind is trying to have over any other part of your life and see what happens. And it can make you feel very insecure. All of these open centers that we're looking at, by the way, when you start to become aware of them, you are going to pass through some terror because you've been holding on to the stuff that's not really you, called the not self. And when you start to become aware, it starts to go away by itself. You don't have to make it go away. Please don't. Awareness is the magic. Osho told us if you bring awareness to something and it remains, that means it's real. If you bring awareness to something and it vanishes, that means it's not real. So awareness is a magic element. The next open center, and the ajna, who's open ajna, we have Nuri, Joanna, Umi, and Anka. Moving
Could I ask
down
you a
to the
question
throat.
about
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I remember when I was growing up at school, and I have my ajna center colored in, but I would look specifically for others' opinions to take as mine so that I could, probably it was to feel that I belonged, and because I was not owning my power, because otherwise, the way you're describing, I actually have a very consistent opinion, but I didn't learn how to have it. And I remember I was very struggling and looking for the right thing to say and to,
Well,
yes.
yes. You have other open centers that would make that happen, which we will get to, that would give you that sense of insecurity that you would then want to have something. But the natural gift that you have with your colored in ajna is not conscious. So your channel of curiosity isn't conscious, and you can start to own it, and then it will become more conscious. And then it becomes clearer to you what that gift is that you have. But it would not have been that way immediately. Okay, we're moving to an extremely important one now, the throat. The throat is like all roads lead to Rome, all of the channels lead to the throat. Every human being has a longing that their nature should be shared with the world somehow. We all want that. We all want to show ourselves and be received by the world. And that's the chakra where that happens. It's about expression, manifestation. However, there's a very big problem which is causing so much suffering all over the world. Everybody is taught that you have to think of what you want, use willpower to make it happen, express it, get it out there, manifest it, and then everything should be fine and you should have everything you want. And if it didn't work, you have to just try harder. I call this the American Nike just do it religion, or the Donald Trump religion. And it's a very lonely religion. It says you are all alone in the universe. You have to do it all by yourself. You have to figure it out, force it to happen, and keep trying. Human design is completely different. It's much more Eastern. It says we are all together in this vast universe. Every little tiny microscopic thing is all here. We cannot control all of that. No possibility at all. So even with this expression, with manifestation, timing is not in our hands. It just isn't. Everything has to line up in that vast and complex universe for the right timing for something to happen. When you have that chakra colored in, you have a particular style of expressing, or maybe more than one, depending how many gates or channels you have connected to it. But even so, that doesn't mean that you can simply anytime start talking or do something and that it will work. It doesn't work like this. We've all tried that. For some people, it can work, manifestors, but even they have to wait for the right timing. It just means when you have it colored in that when the timing is right, you have a particular style of how it can happen. And that will be very satisfying for you. When it's not colored in, you have a gift of silence. Osho talked so much about silence. He meant an inner silence. He meant something very vast, a silence of the mind also. But in a practical way, when you don't have that colored in, it's perfectly appropriate for you not to say anything. Just to be there in, a room with people in it. Don't start talking. But people with an open throat very often start talking because they are worried if they don't, then nobody will see them, that they won't get any attention, they won't get energy. And when you do that, actually when anybody does that, when it's colored in or not, unless you're a manifestor, and all manifestors have it colored in, people block you. And the same if you try to do something in the wrong timing, acting like a manifestor and you're not one, people will block you. When it's open, you're here to become wise about the human expression, human manifestation, and the human voice. If you sing, and I've known some people with open throats who were singers, you can sing with many different styles. And you have to also be careful and loving towards your voice that it gets enough rest. It will need special care if you use it a lot and you have it open. You'll need to take care of it. Honey gargles and whatever. If you don't have it colored in, or even if you do, and you're not a manifestor, manifesting, making something happen, it's not up to you, the timing, and you're going to need other people to be participating in the event that is going to come to pass. You don't do everything alone. Yes, if you are a creative person in your privacy, you can create all you want, but when it comes time to bring that creativity to the world, we all need each other. There's not so many people who are both an artist and an agent. Generators don't have, unless they're a manifesting generator, they don't have a connection to the throat from their sacral motor. This means they need somebody else in the right time to bridge that gap. So when it comes to the throat, we all need to step back and be a little bit humble, whether it's colored in or not. Wait for timing. Wait for when everything lines up. Trust your inner authority. When it's not colored in, there are a couple of dangers. One is blurting. Blurting is you come into a room and you just start talking, or you're walking down the road and you bump into a friend and you just start to talk and they block you. I've also noticed something I call rambling. The voice is often kind of insecure. It doesn't know how to say what's in the being. It doesn't know how to say what you want to say. It longs to say it. It doesn't know how. And it feels very sad about that. And in trying to say, it can easily go rambling, repeating, going off in all directions, back, forth, relevant, not relevant, repeating. And other people fall asleep and block you. When you don't have it colored in and you are talking to somebody who has it colored in, you quite helplessly take on their style. You might even feel some certainty while you're talking for a few minutes in their presence. But the biggest magic for both colored in or not, unless you're a manifester, the biggest magic is wait to be asked a question. Wait until somebody comes to you and asks you something. Or you're in a conversation that started correctly. Somebody asked you. When a question comes to us, a magic happens where something can come up from deeper inside and we can even be surprised what comes out. There's a different quality to it. Human design is very much about communication in a way that is respectful of everybody who's. To me, this is a revolutionary thing because there are a lot of very bad habits that human beings have in trying to communicate with each other. For example, in relationships, we tend to assume that the other person, because now they are our boyfriend, that they have to listen to us. You know, women get very cross at men for not listening. Are you even listening to me? We do not have any duty to anybody, and we don't have any duty to listen to them. So in a relationship, so important, if you want to say something or you want to ask something, don't assume that the other person is in the mood. Don't assume it. Knock on their aura. Is it okay if I ask you something? Or there's something I want to share. Is it a good time for you? Respect, respect, respect. It's not personal. The other person's timing, they're not in charge of it either. It might be the right moment and it might not. So it's just good to check. Yes.
My center is colored in. This throat one.
Your throat.
I often feel that when I'm in group of people, I suppress my voice, and sometimes I feel shaky. So, do I need? Is it?
So
it's in a way.
Your throat gets colored in through an unconscious channel, the prodigal, but it's all red. That means that the information was laid down 3 months before your birth. So it's something you're in the process of owning. So I think it might simply be useful for you to know that you really do have a defined throat. And then see what happens. Because you would have assumed that you didn't. And both your head centers being open, you've probably felt insecure about what you were going to say because you think it has to come from some knowledge. And especially, of course, your whole training would have been that. When this is all inconsistent, like Albert Einstein. So.
The way to respond.
Okay. Moving down.
I have a question. Just because
Yeah.
I have open throat, but actually it's one of my greatest gifts, and I absolutely hate it when anyone rambles, repeats themselves. I have an almost perfect memory for what anyone says, and if they repeat themselves or say something in 10 minutes that they could say in 1 minute, I get very angry. So I'm very concise with my communication. So it's the exact opposite. So how does that work? Like.
Good. Well, it does occasionally happen. It's not often enough, but it means that you have, well, your community channel defines your ego center. So there's a certain confidence in your energy and a certain power that is just there. It's just there. And when somebody's rambling, they're insecure in that moment. And you're feeling that insecurity that they're in. And it irritates you because for you, it seems totally unnecessary. It just seems ridiculous. Like, why are they doing this? You know, because you're all about producing the thing now that is there, or you're producing it when it's time to produce it in a very solid kind of way. That's how it looks to me.
It's like I feel kind of trapped.
I mean, your whole being is giving off confidence. Yeah. You're formidably constant.
Yes, but it feels like I get trapped. That like people keep waffling on, and it's like suddenly in that moment I feel hijacked, and it really upsets me. Like, you know, it's like if you want to use all of energy, great, make it count. Like, you know, you have the supercomputer, make it count. Talk about something that matters to you. Don't waste my time. So that's kind of the energy that I have with a throat. It really upsets me. And I don't know if I should just be more patient.
I think that we all... No. I think we all feel like that. That means somebody who's rambling with an open throat, they're in the not self, and they're doing exactly the thing they're not supposed to do. And all of us get pissed off. It doesn't matter whether we have it colored in or not. We don't like it because it's not the right thing. It's not. And if you don't do it yourself, I can only congratulate you. And it has a lot to do with the way someone enters the situation. So if you asked them a clear question, maybe there'd be less chance of them rambling. I'm not sure. I know people that I can ask them a very clear question and they will still ramble all over the place that have open throats. Anyway, if you don't do it, congratulations. That's all I can say. So open throat. Here we have Joanna, Umi, Anka, Yasemin, and Cassandra. Now we move down to, yes.
I just want to say that we should also mention Subhuti, first of all. I don't know if you
and
mentioned.
Subhuti, yeah, he's and Subhuti, didn't I? His is colored in.
Okay, yeah.
His is colored in, but I am mentioning him whenever he's relevant.
Okay, good to know.
Yes.
I also have a question. If how an open throat goes with open head centers.
That's a lot of open, and it's going to add to your general openness and vulnerability, but also potential for wisdom. It's a lot of open. It's like, and your inner authority is anywhere anyway where it's all at. So it's just inconsistent. Lots of stuff will happen there. It's just not consistent. Okay, we move down to a very important open center called the G center, which is that diamond in the middle of the chest. So G center, it's kind of the God center. This is sort of the center of the inner universe in a way. It has to do with the sense of self. I am, I exist. It has to do with love. It has to do with direction and with place. When it's colored in, you have a distinct sense of self. I am here. You have a sense of direction. You're on a direction. You don't have to control that. It's just happening. You are not so super vulnerable to places. Everywhere you go, you're carrying with you a kind of a selfness around you, almost like a bubble of you. And love is sort of flowing naturally from that heart. And it's got a sense of love with it. People who have it open have a totally different thing going on. And the world does not understand the thing that happens with that open G. So people with the open G feel quite insecure with respect to the world and its expectations. The world expects that you are a person that says I. The world expects that you think that love comes from somebody else loving you because you're lucky and they love you. You know, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. The world thinks that direction is a thing you should figure out and then force to happen. And the world thinks that you should find a place that you like and carve it out and, you know, own it or whatever. But when this center is open, the great danger is that you feel lost and then you try to find a direction and you try to find love. And I have seen this again and again. This kind of itching, painful, hungering, trying again and again. Where is love? How do I get love? Where do I get a partner? How do I get that? And how do I find which way I'm supposed to go? Now, the thing is, when you have that center open, you are supposed to feel lost. Lost really means open. Open to the sky. Open to God. Open to the mystery. The world doesn't understand that. What tends to happen? People who have that open, they're insecure, they feel lost about being who am I? And they might go to university and an MD and a PhD and an MA to put it after the name so that the name looks better. I am this. I have all these degrees. So here I am, I'm somebody. The mystical possibility there gets neglected, and it's very sad that that should happen. This chakra wants to feel really wide open, and its most important key is about places. If you have an open G center, don't spend any time in a place you don't like. Just leave it, because good things can't happen there. Just be in places that you like. And in a way, all places belong to you because you are so open there. You can collect a list of places that you love and you go back to them again and again. Or you might find one place that you love so much that you just stay there for many, many years. But the place will be extremely important. It often happens. Oh, and if you go to a restaurant, for example, don't settle for one you don't like. Even if everybody with you is hungry and they're complaining, you have to keep going till you find the restaurant that you like, and then find the right table and the right chair and move the chair around until it feels just right. If you've got a hotel in a resort and you look at the room and you don't like it, go ask for another one. What you want is a place that you can breathe in. So you might like to open all the windows, look at the sea. You want a big sky so that you can go, you want air. You don't want to feel cramped and closed and dark. Now, it happens, especially when people are getting older, they've been trying hard for so long to be somebody. People can get a sort of false sense of a self. You know, it's smaller than what they really are, because universal self means so vast. It means we are all connected. It means it is the one. Universal love means everything is made of love. But the world says make it smaller. So people try to have a self and hold on to it. And then they can get very, very upset if you challenge it. So people who have an open G center, be very careful. If you want to give them some constructive criticism, they are not going to like it. They're going to react very strongly. They're going to block you out. They're going to really possibly shout at you, because there's such an insecurity there that to feel criticized, they will feel that their very being is being threatened. It's good to find ways to get your point across without criticizing. It's not easy to do. I tell you from my own experience. Somebody has a question. Okay. So when you have this open, I encourage you to allow yourself to feel lost, and remember that God loves lost things. God specializes in lost things. And use this key about places. If you don't like your flat, things aren't going to work. You need to find one that you like. Okay, people who have that one open: Anna, Arina, Umi, Anka, and Yasemin. Moving to a next one, which is also really, really significant. It's the ego center. It is this small little triangle down nearby to the G center. 2/3 of people have it open, and 1/3 have it colored in, like Cassandra has it colored in. When it's colored in, the person has a kind of natural confidence. They are reliable. They do what they say they're going to do. They produce what they say they're going to produce. They have just a natural sense of their own worth, their own value. And depending on which channels they have coming from it, they might also be very good with money, because they know the value of things. If it's open, which is most people, it's a very different story. The great danger there is you don't know your value, and so you try to prove it. And you try and you try and you try, because every time you prove it, you do something and people say, oh, that's great. And you feel, oh, fantastic, I'm okay. But it's like eating sugar. After 5 minutes, you get a slump again, And then you think, oh shit, now I have to prove again something. And you try and you do something great again. And then people say, oh, that's nice. And then you feel good again for a little while. I would say most people are wasting their lives in exactly that, trying to prove that it's okay, that they're even here, trying to say to the angels, hey, it's okay. You know, I've just bought another 5 minutes. It's all right. It's okay. I'm here. And the angels don't care, you know, because the wisdom in that center, and I've looked deeply into it, mine is profoundly open. The wisdom is you got born. You're here. Existence wanted you. This is already so strange, so amazing, so miraculous, so bizarre, so peculiar, so unlikely. What is this amazing phenomenon we find ourselves in? This is the value. You don't also have to do some relative little diddly squat thing, you know, to keep saying, oh, but I'm here, I'm here. It's okay, it's okay. When it's open, you don't know the value, and so you also don't know how much money you should charge for your work. Human design says you should add 1/3 to what you think you should charge. I have not been able exactly to do that, but I did, and I would also recommend this. Ask one of the people who has it colored in. You certainly know some, they always know about marketing. Ask them how much you should charge. And they will tell you, and then you can try to stick to it. I have never been able to stick to it. Mine is always moving around, but you can try. Willpower is something the world says you should have. But when you have that chakra open, you are not here to control your life. And you don't have a consistent willpower. It comes and it goes. So it's not going to work for you to say, okay, I'm going to get up every morning and do yoga at 7 o'clock for the next year. I decide. You will do it for 2 days, then something else will happen, and you'll go, oh, well, I'll start again tomorrow. And then tomorrow, something else happens. And then you think, oh, I'm worthless because I couldn't even do yoga for 3 days in a row at 7 a.m. But you're not supposed to come from will if you have that open. You're supposed to come from your inner authority and from some other fuel. You know, for example, Arena has this individual power channel. She's supposed to come from passion. Passion is different than will. Passion is hell yes. Passion is I love it. Passion is arg. You know, will is I have to do and I will do and I will push. You know, it's the I will. But if you have it open, very possibly you have been trying to have will even stronger than the people who have it colored in. Now, there's another phenomenon, just looking for this other piece of paper. When somebody has an open center and not only it's open, but nothing is sticking out of it colored in, no little gates, and no little gates are even pointing towards it on any of the channels. That's called open centers without activations or profoundly open centers. They're fairly rare, except ones that have only a few channels, for example, the head center and the ego center. So the ego center, when it's profoundly open, mine is like that. And I have a very, very deep understanding of what is possible in a profoundly open center. God, you're so helpless. You're so helpless that the divine can also come. I'll give you a little example. I had a very good job as a personal psychic for an aristocrat for 3.5 years. And then I lost the job because he decided he didn't want to pay my rent anymore after he inherited a lot of money. And I was homeless 18 months. I was couch surfing. One night, I was lying in somebody's house in the dark, feeling lost, absolutely lost, because I wanted a place to live and it was not possible for me to make it happen. I didn't have money. It was not happening. I didn't know what to do, and I tried everything I could think of. And hours and hours, I was just in the dark, facing this helplessness. And suddenly, I felt the presence nearby of a loving presence. Very beautiful, very tender, and very intimate. And the presence leaned over and kissed my belly. And I understood that God is nearness, nearness, near to us. And I was full of tears of joy, and I lay the rest of the night in joy, crying with happiness because of what had visited me. And the next day, somebody offered to help me with these practical things, and the experience went away. But it gave me a visceral understanding of how helplessness, and in any profoundly open center, you are deeply, incredibly helpless. What a door it can be to something beyond. This sense of unworthiness is because the mind is very much interested in our open centers. It works through them to keep us hooked because we're afraid and insecure in those centers. It goes in, it tells us things that we have to do, and in this way, it keeps us hooked. So the way it works through this open ego center is, for example, you're walking along and you catch a glimpse of yourself in the glass of a shop window. And on that day, you are looking fat. And you see yourself looking fat, and you get a sense of despair, which means energy falls. You know, like, oh shit, I'm worthless, I'm fat, nobody will ever love me. I've tried so hard to lose weight and I couldn't do it. Oh, I'm so full of shit. So there we have two things. Energy has fallen, and the mind is operating with it, saying words to you that hook you because you believe in them. So what I invite people to do with this is to put the mind aside. Don't listen to it saying you are worthless because, just put that aside and allow the energy to do whatever it wants. And the energy, if it's falling, just falls. Let it fall. You fall with it. And you feel for a moment like you're going to die. Like you fell down a crevasse and you're coming to the bottom and you're going to die. Don't do anything. If you get that feeling in a gap, like now you're going to die, what people mostly do is they reach for their phone or something to eat, or they talk. If you wait in any gap, energy can hit bottom, it bounces up, it comes to your heart opens, and there's love. And that's because love comes out of emptiness. We are taught that love comes from another person loving us, but actually it comes from everything. That's what that open G center tells us. It's all love. So in any open center, when you allow it to be empty, love can come there. But you are first required not to believe what your mind is telling you. Okay,
Can I
we
ask
move now. Yes.
So my G center is colored in, and also my the ego center. Both the centers are colored in. But I do get that sense of
Yeah.
unworthiness quite often. I don't know if it's my mind.
You have the gate of doubt. Remember, I was
Yes.
telling you about that. So up in the head center, you've got the gate 63. Anybody can look on their chart and see if they have it. Anybody who has that gate, and it's on an open center, so it's not really you, but it's something you're here to become wise about. It's very common to really doubt yourself a lot, and to doubt all kinds of things, to doubt what people tell you, to doubt what you read, to doubt all kinds of stuff, just to be in doubt. Doubt is a valuable thing, but in the right place, in the right time, if you are letting it run your life, it can waste a lot of time, because it has nothing to do with your tummy. It's just blah, 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 blah. You don't have a lot of open centers. You have 4 open centers, but the ones you have open are very open, and we will come to them. Your emotional center and your root center are very open. So this is where you're going to have a lot of not
Yeah.
self
Like,
action.
even when you talked about money, that they have sense of money, and I feel like I don't have any
Uh-huh.
sense of money.
Uh-huh.
Or when you said about direction, that like, so that is another thing, sense of direction. Like,
Mm.
so for people who have colored in, they can be at any place and
Yes.
feel they don't have to look for
The-
it. Like right now I'm at work. It's okay, it's not too bad. So I can be here, or do I need to move?
See, you're trying to figure it out with your mind. And you have a very powerful design. I see your body. Your body took a huge sigh. Ah. See, you're on your direction. You don't have to do anything about it. You're worrying about it. That's another thing. That has nothing to do with it. It's already happening. You're on your direction, and you're very powerful. You're actually very confident. You have the channel of the salesman. So eventually, when you have your own clinic and you are a doctor in your own right, everything will get managed very well. It will all happen beautifully, but you're full of doubt because you've been taught to be in your head, because you've been a student in the school to learn how to be a doctor. And you analytical, but you don't have an analytical design. You have alive, beautiful, yummy, very individualistic design. And your whole training is going to have to go out the window when you come down to your tummy to trust your energy. But you're already on the direction. You just think all these other things. Okay, now she's smiling a little bit. Okay, so moving to the very important emotional center. Now, we're going to devote an entire class to this because it has to do with can I say one more thing in relationship about that? Yes.
How is the profound open ego center? What does it look like? And who has the profound ego in our group, for example?
So who has open ego center? Linda, Joanna, Arina, Subhuti, Umi, Anka, Yasemin, and Tonya. So most people have it open, and it's this little one here.
Yes, but what do you mean profound open?
Profoundly open. That means nothing is sticking out of it colored in, and nothing's pointing towards it on it. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 channels connected to it. And if it was profoundly open, there would be nothing on any of those channels.
Okay, like for example, is mine profoundly open? For example, is mine profoundly open?
So when it's colored in, that ego center, people are often in denial. Pardon?
What I asked is like, there's no lines colored in. So is mine profoundly open? Does that mean that?
Okay, so I don't, Yasmin, I don't think anybody had, oh, maybe some people had that one. Found the open. Just a minute, I'm finding yours. Yes, yes, yours is profoundly open.
Okay.
Open like that. You are not in charge of things of your life. You are like a sailboat. You know, the sailboat blows you somewhere, it gets blown by the wind. But you're also very powerful because you have power channel. So this can be a little bit odd.
Yeah. Because
Powerful
I
energy,
need
but
to
you're
have
not in charge.
everything in control. How is that going to?
Okay, so when it's, yeah. So we all have contradictions in us.
Mhm.
With relationships, I just want to note about the ego center. If you're with somebody who has it colored in and you don't, they can kind of overwhelm you a bit. They can come to you with their certainty, their force, their push, their will, and it can be difficult to say no to them. Also, people who have it colored in can be in denial. You know, you ask them how they're doing and they'll say, oh, everything's great, it's all wonderful, everything is fantastic, it's all fine. But actually, all kinds of things are falling apart and they're just pretending that it's not so. This can happen. Okay, moving down to the emotional center. The emotional center is colored in with half the people in the world, and it's empty with half the people in the world. And the people who have it colored in have been taught to be ashamed of feeling. All of us have been taught to be ashamed of feeling. I think this is because we get a little bit complicated here. Despite whatever the design is, men and women, the female body and the male body, okay, men have sticking out the first chakra. Everybody knows that. Okay, there's the penis, and here's the vagina sticking in, and everybody knows that. It's anatomy. It doesn't matter whether you have root chakra or sacral colored in or not. This is physical. But in the emotional chakra, in the belly, we just call it the belly. It's the opposite, that women have it sticking out and men have it sticking in. So women have a kind of penis, emotional penis, and men have a receptive place there. So men have a vagina with feeling. That's why they're very private about it. They can't just talk about it really easily. Even men with emotional definition will tend to keep quiet about what they feel, even though they feel very deeply. So many men have emotional definition. They feel very, very, very deeply, but they're not talking about it. They're feeling very private. And the warrior cult, which has been in charge for the last 2,000 years in the whole world, mostly, says warriors don't feel, they just do. You know, they kill other warriors and they are tough and they're strong and they shouldn't cry. You know, we bring up boys to never cry and like that, which is a tragedy because anybody who has emotional definition should never stop their tears and they should never stop their laughter. They need to let themselves feel. But the world has been controlled by men, and this has been the fashion. It's too scary. Let's not do this feeling thing. Let's squash it. Let's just act. Let's be yang. So all of that is just to say The shame around feeling has been contaminating all of us, including women. And feeling is so beautiful, and it's so inescapable. We have to feel in this life. We don't get to escape. And the more completely we can allow ourselves to feel, the easier our transformations are. But Osho really was fantastic with all of that, really gave us space for discovering our feeling. So all of us have to find out how to allow our feelings. If you have it open, when you are in your privacy, unless you're in your reproductive years and you're premenstrual, in which case emotional stuff can really come up. But otherwise, in your privacy, you would have a calm mood. And if you have it colored in, it's very natural for you to have waves in your mood, just like weather. Sometimes you're happy and sometimes you're sad. And it goes like that. And nothing is wrong in it. It has to be like that. But if you were taught to suppress your feeling and not to have it, it can easily back up and get stuffed in you, and more is building up until one day something happens and it all comes out. Blah, 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 blah. And then the person that it comes out on is traumatized. And this is what humans are normally doing. Osho gave us a fantastic meditation called dynamic. Fast, chaotic breathing, and then catharsis, where you beat pillows and you scream and you kill whoever you want to kill, and you let your body just move however it wants. And then you say, who, and then you freeze and you watch energy move, and then you dance. And it's one of the best meditations I think ever devised. Everyone who ever does it feels so good afterwards. Usually before it starts, they don't want to do anything other than that, because it's like, oh shit, now I'm going to have to feel. But when it's over, they feel fantastic. So I recommend it for anybody. Colored in, not colored in, dynamic meditation is fantastic. Because emotional release is good. Crying is good. Anytime anything wants to come out, it's good. That's healthy. Now with relationships, we get attracted to somebody who's not like us. So if you don't have it colored in, you want to be with somebody who has it. And if you do have it, you might want to be with somebody who doesn't. Because when it's colored in, what you're going to get is touch, tactile, depending on which channel defines it. It might be a tactile channel. It might be an auditory channel or a visual one. But most of the time, when you don't have it colored in, what you're missing is the sense of touch. You want to lie in someone's arms and let time disappear and melt. Because alone, that's not happening. Then it's easy to get addicted to the other person's juicy energy, but we're not supposed to get addicted to other people's energy. We just enjoy it while it's there. If you don't have it colored in and you are looking for a lover, they say don't sleep with him until you've seen him when he was down in his wave, because you might not like what you see. Maybe he's abusive when he's depressed or sad. Maybe he doesn't accept himself and then he dumps on you. And you don't like it. Or maybe you just don't like the feeling of it when he's down. It can be very beautiful when someone's down. If they are accepting it themselves, it helps a lot. I had a beautiful lover who had it colored in. I knew about it from before we met, because we met on the internet. And I told him I know that you're going to have moods, and you are entitled to your moods. And I'm not going to try to change them, and I'm not going to try to make you feel better. He was at first doubting because the women he'd been with before had, probably tried to change him. But he became finally confident that I was not going to interfere. And then he would tell me when he woke up feeling blue, he'd say, I'm grumpy today. And I would say, that's great, that's fine. And then I would just give him a kiss and go off and do my own thing. And he would sit and look at motorcycles on the computer all day with the cat on his lap. And I could feel the quality of his energy in the house, and it felt sensitive, sad, but it was very beautiful because it was very honest. It had an integrity to it. I could feel that he was in touch with himself, with his truth and with his humbleness. And I loved it. It was very beautiful. So this is possible. But you are often going to meet people who are not accepting their emotional energy and are going to be abusive, verbally abusive. And verbally abusive hits your brain in the same place that physical abuse does. It's very traumatizing, it's not healthy. And karmically, we're not really allowed to interfere with people. So dynamic meditation is good. Or to have in a house a corner with ugly pillows in it that you don't like, and whenever anybody needs to unload, they go and they murder the pillows until they feel better. And if you do that, if you murder pillows, take some time afterwards to sit silently or lie down silently for 10 minutes, because any catharsis requires integration time in silence afterwards. The integration time makes your whole being understand that you have released. If you don't take integration time, you don't get it that it's happened, and it will come up again. That's just a little trick.
Madhuri, I have
The
a question.
danger with having it open. Yes.
Oh yeah, I just had one question. I'm sorry. What's happened if two people doesn't have emotional center open?
If
And
two
they
people
get-
don't have,
I'm sorry, someone is calling at the wrong time. Basha, I will call you back, okay? If two people has not open emotional center and they
so
get
they
together,
both don't have. Okay. Now this is important. So if I'm looking for a lover and there's somebody that's possible and he doesn't have it colored in, and I also don't have it. Probably what's going to happen is that there isn't really a cuddling. There's not a tactile quality in that relationship. It's not going to be about touch. And for me, this will be disappointing because I don't have this myself, and I want that if I'm going to be with somebody at all. I will look for somebody who has emotional definition, but I will also know that it comes with a price because the person's going to be moody. They're going to be moody, and they might not accept that themselves. So sexy and moody go together. They just do. If somebody's sexy, they're also moody. If you want to touch them, they also have downs in their wave. And everybody has to make space for that. It's a very beautiful phenomenon if we accept it. And one of the reasons people don't accept it is because it has nothing to do with time. This whole world is in a hurry. It's trying to make everything happen really fast. And when you go in emotional energy, all that goes away. It's like in a honeymoon, there's no time. You're just making love all the time. You turn the clocks to the wall. You don't look at the time at all. You hate the time. You only want to melt into love, into sex. Emotional energy is like that all the time, actually. It doesn't belong to time. And those people move in a timing that is more like geologic time. It's not in their control. It's slow and it's deep and it's real. So people who don't have it colored in are always trying to make them hurry up. And it doesn't work and it pisses them off. But they might be trying to hurry up, but it will make them nervous and they will not then be in connection with their depth. So you won't get their real beauty when you do that. But I have seen this many times. People who don't have it colored in are fast and they don't understand why their partner has to take so long to decide something or to do something. But the people who don't have it should ask the other ones twice anything and don't believe what they say the first time. You know, if you want them to do something with you, ask them as far ahead as you can, weeks, months. And then don't listen to what they say first, ask them again later. You know, take some many more days, weeks, months, and then ask them again. And in the meantime, they will have been considering whatever that thing is. And when something has arisen in them, be clear.
So if two people have emotional center open, that would be very strong sexual attraction or like emotional attraction?
Well, if they both have it colored in, it would depend if the frequencies of it somehow liked each other. If it, because both of them are emotional and they're both taking up all the space in the house with that. It might work sometimes. It might never work. It might work a lot. It just depends on what channels there are. Now, when you don't have it colored in, here are some dangers. And who doesn't have it colored in? Nuri, Joanna, Anna, Subhuti, Umi, Anka, Yasemin, Tonya. You are very vulnerable to other people's emotional energy. Whenever you meet somebody, you know how they're feeling. You might not be conscious of it, but your body will adjust itself to their space. And you will feel it twice as much as they do. Your mood will change according to their space.
I'm sorry, you're speaking about colored center?
Pardon? If it's not colored in, the emotional center.
Not colored, because I
Yeah.
see I have it colored. And you mentioned me and I just wanted to double.
Wait, oh, okay, let me just look at yours.
Yes, and same here for me.
Did I screw it up that badly? No, you don't have it colored in, Anka. It's the one over here.
Oh, that one. Oh.
Yeah, not on the other
Oh.
side. It's this one.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. Thank you.
So, when you don't have it colored in, I also don't, so this is what I want to share with you. When you're around somebody who has it colored in, you are being nourished by their energy. You might like it especially if they're up, might really like it. If they're down, you might find it okay or beautiful or horrible. But you are being very much touched by it and conditioned by it. You will need a break from that. So if you have a partner who has emotional definition, sometimes you have to get away from them. I call it the emotional sticky goo. That energy is sticky and gooey. It's sweet and sticky and gooey. And when you don't have it colored in, sometimes you've had enough of this goo and you want your crisp, light space back again, which is not about emotion. You just, want to walk away into the clear sky. But when you're with that person, you are going to get into this goo, sticky and honey and nectar and sweet. And So just knowing that you're vulnerable to other people's emotional space and sometimes you need a break. Then the other thing is, when you have that open, you really, really, really don't like when people are shitty, when they're nasty, when they're shouting, when they're heavy, when they're angry. When you were a little child, people in your house, somebody must have had it colored in, maybe one of your parents, and you knew when they were in a bad mood and you felt very frightened because their bad mood carried the adult quality in it, big, scary, powerful. And when they were in a bad mood, they were not taking care of you. They were not loving you, and you needed it because you were just small. So you were very traumatized by their heavy space. And then probably what you did, I certainly did this, you start to become a very nice girl who does nice things that you can give to that parent to make them feel better. My mother used to have these periods where she would just go to bed for 2-3 days, very kind of depressed and sad, and she would write poetry and read, and she really didn't want to be taking care of us then. She would force herself to get up to cook food, and she would shout and scream and howl about it. So I would make a tray with tea and maybe a cup with a flower in it that I picked from the yard. Maybe I would write a little poem because she always liked my poems, and I would bring it to her. Mommy, I made you a snack. And she would have to be nice to me then because, I was just a little girl and I had done this nice thing. And I was very lucky. She would be nice to me, but you could still see she was still very miserable. So then we grow up and we get a partner. He also has this emotional definition. And then when he's bad, in a bad mood, oh, would you like a coffee? I make you a coffee. Shall I give you a foot massage? Do you want me to, I'll do this thing for you so that you will feel better. And then we run around doing that, trying to take away that scary energy. And we don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. Leave them alone when they're down. They'll get over it. It just takes them some time. They need the space. They need to be able to be down. Don't give them therapy. I was a therapist. If I hadn't known about this, I would have been trying to give my boyfriend color puncture and massage and God knows what kind of therapy. I saved myself so much trouble through human design. I didn't have to do all that. Just let him have his mood. Then also you will be afraid of being confronted. If somebody wants to tell you how you did something wrong, if somebody has to call you on something that you did, very scary for you. If you have that open, you really, really will do a lot of things to avoid confrontation, and you don't want to confront somebody unless you have some other indication, the gate of the fighter or something someplace else. Mine is open. I have a profoundly open ego center also, and many indications for abdicating, which means stepping down, stepping aside. And oh my God, to confront somebody is like dying, just. Another challenge is not having boundaries when you have it open. Letting other people shit on you, dump their emotional stuff on you, give you long lists of criticisms, use you, to have their catharsis on, or demand things from you, pressure you, take things away from you that are yours. And you don't know how to say no. You don't know how to say stop. You don't even know how to get out of the room. A lot of times, the best thing you can do is just get out of the room. They want you there just so they have a wastebasket to vomit in, but you are not a wastebasket. Sometimes it's time to just get out. And it can be hard to get out when they're sending yang, anger at you. So this can be a humongous challenge, learning how to have boundaries when you have those things open. Okay, we move now to the sacral motor. We've talked about this when we were looking at the types. The generators have it colored in. It's that red square. When you have it colored in, you have a consistent energy supply available for work, for sex, for walking, dancing. And your big question is, how do I know what to do with it? But when it's not colored in, you don't have that. The big danger there is not knowing when to stop. You don't have a natural sense of when something's gone too far. You don't know how to say enough is enough. So you can easily out-march the soldier. You can out-dance the dancer. You can be very, very extreme. As you get older and you suffer from breakdowns after out-generating the generators, you might start to get a little bit more sense of that. It's very important for anyone who has an open sacral motor to notice when they're tired. And don't be ashamed of it. Notice when they've had enough. Listen to their body, depending on what their inner authority is. Or, for example, for Tonya, listen to your heart when it doesn't feel happy anymore. Know when you've had enough. But it's a long learning curve. Moving over to the splenic system, there on the far left. Just finding my little list again. Sacral motor open is Tonya and Subhuti. Okay, splenic system,
Can I comment on
far left. Pardon?
Can I comment on the sacral motor something before?
Yeah, are you wanting to ask a question?
Yeah, for sacral motor, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Like what you said about, enough is enough. I can feel it at work. Like this past week, I have been very emotionally drained.
Yes.
And I couldn't.
Yes. Well, yeah, you're very, very open. You have a very open emotional system. You've got one gate sticking out of it, gate of grace. And it just means you're super vulnerable when people put emotional pressure on you. They're saying, we will feel really bad if you don't do this. They're wanting to harness your generator energy, and they know how to hook you by implying that somebody's going to suffer if you don't come through with your energy and make them feel better.
What can I do about it?
Well, you've committed. You committed to becoming a doctor.
It's not even the people, my colleagues, it's also the patients. I feel so much for them. There is this child who is, I have to say that he's not going to make it, and I just feel like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
Yes, because you feel deeply, when the feeling is because you're so open, you feel it twice as much, you know, and it can be very intense. We don't get to escape from this, Nuri. You know, you get at least some time alone. You can allow that emptiness to be, you know, to get some silence in it, but we don't get to escape from being alive. You are strong enough. You are strong enough. It will get better. I'm saying this because you will be discovering your power, and you will be getting better at setting limits so that you have enough time for yourself when you finished your whole process that you're in now. But I think by letting yourself feel, you're only helping. It's okay. I know we don't want to feel. It hurts. It's inconvenient also, but it's beautiful to see tears.
Yeah, I cannot set boundaries.
Ah.
I am not able to set boundaries here. With not at work, like if I say no to some patient, I feel like, oh, what he will think of me, that she doesn't want to work. But I need my time.
Yeah, you need your time. You will find it out. You will find when. It's it's an incredible job that you have. It's a very challenging thing, and you're still young, but you will find your way. So, splenic system is about the immune system, loving ourselves, taking care of ourselves, the health, intuition. When it's colored in, the person has a robust immune system. Their only challenge is to listen to what their body's saying instead of overriding it, because it's a very quiet little voice that the splenic system has. It just either feels good or it feels bad, it closes or it opens. People who have it colored in, if they listen to it, it will be a reliable way to tell you if you're doing something healthy or something dangerous. But when it's open, this is a challenging place to have open because it's not coming so naturally to you to know what to eat, what not to eat, what to smoke or not to smoke, what to drink or not to drink, when to go to bed, when to get up, how to love yourself and care for yourself. This is going to be your biggest lesson, is discovering how to take care of yourself when you have an open splenic system. You can become very wise about it. You can really understand who is a good doctor, who's a good healer, who's a good psychic. You will know all the best experts and go to them. You can really know what are the best supplements, because you would experiment and find out what really works well. It often happens that people don't really get that wisdom until they become older and suffered some with eating and drinking the wrong things. Another factor in this open splenic system is security and insecurity. When you have it colored in, you have a natural sense of security. Now, all security is relative because we're all going to die. So there is no security, actually. And the whole human race could die. You know, there could come some enormous meteor, crash down in the North Sea, starting a winter that goes on for 5 years. We don't know what's going to happen. And there isn't any security. And this is an incredible wisdom that is possible with this open splenic system. If you can allow yourself to feel insecure, this is very mystical. because it is the truth. All security is relative. You know, some people feel secure if they have $100 in their hand, 100 euros. Some people feel secure only if they have 100,000 euros in the bank. But the person with 100,000 euros could become the person with 100 euros in the space of a week. It could happen. It's all relative. Therefore, the brilliance possible for an open center doesn't really apply to it. The brilliance means, like Osho told us, insecurity is the very taste of life. Just the way the sea tastes salty, life tastes insecure everywhere you taste it. So when you can surf on the insecurity of life, it's great. But there is a danger when it's open that you will cling to things that are finished just to feel that you have something in your hand. That you will, you know, a pair of shoes that are really worn out and you can't bear to let go of them, a boyfriend where it's not working anymore, the love is gone, but you don't know what you will do if he's not there and you keep on holding on, a job you don't like anymore, you've outgrown it, but you're afraid, and so you cling to it. This can happen. Or if it's open, you will be attracted to somebody who has it colored in, and you could end up feeling that if he leaves you, you will die, because the sense is my survival depends on him. That's because of that sense of insecurity. And actually, without him, you are probably not going to die. You'd probably be fine, but the feeling would be that you would die. It's important when you have it open not to be spontaneous. And there will be a pressure to be spontaneous, but it won't help. Because the spontaneity belongs to the colored in splenic system. Okay, we move down to the last open center, which is the root. The root is a pressure center, just like the head is. The pressure from the head is to understand what everyone's doing here. The pressure from the root is to survive. If you have both of those open, splenic system open, sorry, Tonya, Linda, Anna, Cassandra. Okay, root center open, Tonya, Nuri, Arina, Yasemin, Cassandra. If you have both the head and the root, you can find yourself in a pressure sandwich, and it's not really you. Pressure from above, pressure from below, and you don't know why you feel this pressure, but you're always trying to do something, and you don't even quite know why. It just seems like you must. When in fact, you're meant to let go. Don't listen to the pressure to understand, because the mind can't understand anyway. And the pressure from the root, well, you don't have to worry about surviving. If you let it go and just trust your inner authority, life loves you. Life will bring you the right timing, the right opportunities, the right moment. Things will happen. And see, we don't trust that. We don't trust that we're part of a vast network of being and that everything is intertwined and everything acts on everything else. We think we're all alone and that it's all up to us and we have to do everything. Human design asks a lot of let go of us and a lot of trust. So that root, when it's open, the danger there is that you're trying to get everything done so that you can relax. Mine is open and I certainly do that. I make a list. Okay, I have to get all this done, then I can relax. But this can mean that you're not in the moment, really. You're not really in what you're doing because you are just in it to be finished with it. If you have it open, it's important, don't make too many appointments in the day. Don't load yourself up. Just what's comfortable. I had to learn this the hard way. I used to have an agenda with every hour, marked out appointments when I lived in the commune. Now I just like, if there's 2 things in a day, that's comfortable. Any more than that, and I start to feel a little bit, but then I'm also a projector. It just depends on the person, what's comfortable for you. And leave space around each thing. So they're not right after each other, but there's a little bit of space. The whole world has adrenalized this chakra and is trying to make it hurry and push. If you're open there, you are vulnerable to the pressure that other people put on you. You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do it now. It can be hard to disconnect from that, but it's not healthy to buy other people's pressure. And it's good to just get away sometimes from all pressure. Get a massage, go to the beach, read a book, something where there's no pressure. Otherwise, it's very easy to take on all kinds of pressure, and it's not you. It doesn't belong to you. It's not good for you. You have it colored in. Theoretically, you should have a healthy sense of the natural pressure from life to survive, and it should happen in a pleasurable way. You're doing work that you love. But the whole world has adrenalized it and made it a bit sick. So all of us have to work on that a little bit. When it's profoundly open, you don't know when to hurry. When it's appropriate to hurry. I'm going to just backtrack and go through all the profoundly open ones, just in case. The head, when it's profoundly open, not knowing what is interesting. The ajna, not knowing what to think. The throat, not knowing what to say. G center, not knowing what to be. Ego, not knowing what is worthy or what is worth. That was amazing for me to find out because mine is so profoundly open. And I was a sex addict for a long time in my 20s and 30s. And I didn't understand anything about a relative worth of me. People would say, you treat yourself like you don't value yourself. And I didn't know what that meant. It just didn't compute for me. Because that's so cosmic, that open ego center. It doesn't know anything about relative worth. Emotional center, not knowing what to feel. Sacral motor, not knowing what to use energy for. Root, not knowing when to hurry. And splenic system, not knowing what to fear. This brings me to one more thing about the open G center that I forgot. When you have an open G center, you take in the selfhood of the person that you're with, the person you're talking to. You take in their very self, and you get very involved in it. And it's easy then to get lost in the other person's movie, in their story. You get very empathic. People love that. People love open G centers, listening to them and getting really involved. But you could find yourself running around doing a lot of things to help somebody, spending your day helping somebody, forgetting what you were going to do, forgetting that you also have a life. And you could do it so much that you lose touch with your own boundary and when you need to stop. That does happen. Okay, I am absolutely bursting to have a pee-pee. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll take questions when I get back. aha, I just remembered one very important thing. Is everybody else having a PP also?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, people are coming back.
Is everybody there? Anybody not there?
Not yet. In the meantime, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
I see that I have many open centers, except of 3 of them.
You do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Can you say something about that, please?
Yeah, I will. I think I want to wait till people come back because it's quite quite a lot of people have a lot of open centers,
Mm.
and so I think it's helpful for everybody.
I feel only Nuri is missing. I'm not sure. Not everyone has camera open.
Oh, okay. I'll say. Nuri's had sessions with me before, so I've already told her many things. Okay, so Anka has a question of, she has a lot of open centers, and she just wanted to hear something about that. Yes, if you have a lot of open centers, you're vulnerable. You're walking around in this world, and you're taking in energy from a lot of people and getting exhausted by it. And nothing is consistent in those places, so things are coming and going. And if you are dependent on trying to make those places be fixed, trying to make them have something, trying to put something there, and that's what everybody's doing with open centers. They're trying to be there. They're trying to force something, push something there. Then you can be very confused and very nervous and busy, trying hard to make something be there. Whenever you look at somebody's design, you can guarantee that all those open centers are going to be full of stuff and that the person is putting their energy there. This is just how it is. That's what people do. So when you have a lot of them, your process with human design is going to be about watching when you are in one of those open centers with your mind, trying to be this or that or better or whatever it is, so that you can disidentify and let it go. And it will fight you. It will tell you that you will die if you let go. So it's a long experiment. When you know what your gifts are, it's a little easier because you can just rest in them. You can just trust in them. This is also another important point. When I went to the loo, it came to me because in gaps is when things come. We work on something and then we go off and have a break. And in the break, something happens. So in the break, I remembered that it's so important to say, when somebody has 7 chakras colored in and only 2 open, sometimes it happens. Once in a long while, you'll see somebody with 8 colored in and 1 open. Those very few open ones are going to get all the attention that, for example, Anka has spread out over 6 open ones. So 6 open ones worth is all getting crammed into 1 or 2. And that means the person can be utterly obsessed in a particular area and putting all of their energy in something that isn't them. I'm remembering someone that I worked with long ago who had 8 colored gifts and only the splenic system was open. And he lived in squalor and dirt And he ate only fried eggs because they were easy to cook. And he never cleaned the kitchen. And he was proud of the fact that he never cooked because it was too boring and hard. And he only ate fried eggs. And he was not healthy and was very nervous. And I pointed out to him that all of this energy was going in this one thing about health and was kind of driving him nuts, and that he was proud of it. Because we get proud of anything. You know, we'll be proud of absolutely anything. We can always notice we're starting to get proud of something self-destructive. This is just how the mind is. It will be proud of anything just to feel I am here. So that's
can you
that's an important thing.
say
How
something?
many of
Can you say something about me? Because I have just two. Can you hear me?
Anna?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, here you are. Yes, you have two open. Well, and one of those is your G center, which is, there's nothing sticking out of it. There are two gates going towards it, but nothing sticking out of it. So it's very, very open. So you would tend to have some very strong focus on trying to be somebody. And it could be really scary for you to have that challenged. You know, if somebody would imply that you were not who you would like to be, or if someone criticizes you, it could be like death. If somebody, you know, and then with the splenic system open, it's just it's a long trajectory to find your health in a way that is balanced for you, that you know how to treat yourself. But you also have the 4-1 profile, which is extremely rare, the fixed fate.
Yeah.
I was very excited when I saw that. I'm always excited when I see that one. Whatever your way is that is real for you, and in your case, this would be decided by your emotional inner authority, taking time to know something for yourself, according to, after the waves of up and down go by, a calm sense of, this is for me, or this is not for me. And it might never feel like 100%, but still, mostly no or yes. And then you should not waver or wobble or let anybody influence you. You can't compromise. Just stay with it, and other people have to compromise to you. But then you are like an oak tree. You know, you are a resource for your friends. In your solidity, in your fixed quality, you're supposed to be fixed. So I think it's very beautiful. And it's really, whoa. In your case, the definition that makes that emotional system colored in is not conscious. So your inner authority, it's also divided from the upper definition. So we've all been taught to be in our heads. You have a very strong mind, not connected to your inner authority and the body down here. So there's a challenge to trust and connect with your feeling, and to allow it to have its time to come to a maturity before you make a decision. You don't have to, you know, figure it all out logically. That won't help. What helps is to take your time. Okay? And
thank you.
yeah. Okay, good. So anybody else, any questions?
I wanted to say something. I think I sent Priyanka like to look at few profiles which could match with me, or in my last session I spoke to you about this person also. I was researching on my own how can I figure out,
Yeah,
and he came out to be
right.
1-3 projector, and I'm like, I don't know because it seems like as per what the lines are, it matches. Uh,
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Right.
but
Yeah, I mean the profile was just one detail, that we went into because we're just doing bit by bit. And there are a lot of things that we can look at with relationships. There's another whole piece, which I hope we will have as another course, where we actually put two charts together, and there are many things that we can see when we put the two charts together as to what works and what doesn't work. But that's a whole big piece all by itself. What you really have to trust, Nuri, is just your feeling in your tummy. And a projector, I can tell you, is going to be overwhelmed by you. It can be fun for some periods and then coming and going. So living together would not be healthy for the projector because you're much more powerful than you know, and you would wear him out. But for fun, for a fling, no problem. And again, I don't want to say never because who knows, then he can get a session with me and I can tell him why he's suffering, and then he can build a little house for himself in the back garden that he can escape to or something. Anybody else?
So I have a question. For my root chakra is completely open, so I don't have a single gate on there. I have a couple that are pointing at it, but I don't have anything on there. And I think that's like one of my main focuses, like in terms of a problem. Like I have 3 out of the 4 motors defined, except for the root. So I have all this energy, but not that much action. So I can, if I put my mind to it, make it happen. But it's like I often lack this urgency, and that can be tricky because I have big things I want to do, but it's like sometimes I just don't get the impulse to actually do them. So is there anything I can do about that?
So one of the things I have observed about emotional energy, which is your inner authority, when we give ourselves time, we get more time. Time itself expands. Time is not a finite thing. It expands. When you rest in yourself, your life gets longer.
Mm-hmm.
It spreads out. And this is your real state, is you are living in a lush, juicy, warm, spread out, beautiful thing, existence. This is your actual gift. All the stuff about what you want to do with it, you should be wary because you are going to get ideas. You have a defined mind and it can be very creative. You've got this channel of abstraction which can look at solutions for the human beings. Very beautiful. But as far as doing something about it, this is not in your hands. The part where it comes to the world and something is manifested, you are extremely vulnerable in that. You have an open throat. And it might be difficult for you to allow that much helplessness or that much humility because of all the confidence that's in that ego center and that juicy, your sacral motor and your G center. There's lots of me, I'm here, and I've got it going on. But you don't have the ability by yourself to make a thing occur. to the world. And if we trust timing, if we trust life, things will line up at the right time, that it will happen. The right people come along, and they often come along when we're not expecting it. You know, we have some agenda, we're trying to steam ahead doing something, and then somebody asks something and we like wanting to block them because we're busy. But maybe that person is gonna give us the key for the next thing we're really supposed to be doing. So I would say, revel in your juice and in your ideas, write them down, you know, write them down, speak them into a recorder, whatever you like to do, and be open to what might come that's going to make a bridge between you and the world. If you, you have so much energy, I don't see that you need more energy or that you need impetus. I think you're worried about not manifesting stuff because that's your open throat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not your business. Hard as it might seem.
Damn!
Oh shit! Yeah,
maybe that's why I'm dating a manifester. Maybe that's why I'm in a relationship with a manifester who's got that going on.
Absolutely.
And who bridges
then
my wife's split, which is great. Which is really good. He bridges mine. So
enjoy his manifestor energy. You know, I mean, manifestors really can you know, things just by their presence. And if you entered into that relationship correctly, maybe that's something's going to happen.
Cool.
And there would be, you're a wide split. Yeah. So it's not even about missing gates that you're looking for. No, this is going to require some humbleness on your part. Much as you might not like that.
No.
Anybody else?
Here's a
Anybody else have
question
a
in the
question?
chat box from Tonya. I have the top 4 colored in and the bottom 5 open. What does this generally mean about people with top chakras colored in and the bottom open, she asks.
Okay, let's get out. Oh yeah, it's right here. Yeah. So it can be kind of troubling to feel ungrounded. And one wants to feel grounded, and then one looks for a partner where one feels grounded, or some kind of situation in which to feel grounded. But you don't have to feel grounded all the time. When you are alone, it's okay just to float, to feel ungrounded, and appreciate the way that your beautiful G center, your heart, is so sensitively attuned to reality. It really knows everything. It tells you, it opens, it closes, it whispers about life, about everything that's going on. It's just so exquisitely delicate. All the open centers that you have, well, you would be not knowing your own worth, you'd be afraid of confrontation, not knowing when to stop, probably trying to pressure yourself to do stuff, not knowing how to take care of yourself. Yeah, all that's probably going on. But once you start being aware of that, it can become less identified. But more than anything else, the world teaches us to be in our heads, and that would be easy for you because you've got a lot of head definition. Anytime someone has both head centers colored in, there is a sense of pressure in the head. It can be uncomfortable. It's a good idea to carry a notebook around with you and write in it. Anybody with both head centers, or even just the ajna, write in a diary. Anything that gets the pressure out of your head is good. And remember that the head is never anybody's inner authority. For you, it's your beautiful heart. And let the rest of you float. Okay, anybody else? I bet we've gone on late. I didn't look at the time, and I tend to go on way too long always. Oh yeah. My God.
Writing is good for
Yeah.
everyone.
I have
Well,
just one. If that's okay, I can have just small burning question inside.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
more
one minute.
relating to the previous session. I was trying to understand if two generators coming together
Uh-huh.
and how this initiation is happening. If the man is generator and the woman is generator, and who is initiating? Who is stepping in?
You ask
Who is
each
stepping
other.
in?
So one can ask the other one, do you want to have a coffee with me?
And I'm
the
also
other one
two for
says,
profile. And I'm also two for profile, which you mentioned is like a brotherhood, sisterhood, and more maybe
right,
be friends first, which is quite clear for me.
like friends. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So if you feel friendly with the person, you feel friendly with them and they ask you, do you want to come and have a coffee? Then if you feel a yes, then you say, I like, sounds good to me. Do you want to have a coffee with me? So ask them back, because when a generator asks something, they actually don't know if they want to do it, because it's not a responding, it's an initiating. So they have to be asked back. So two generators actually can be very simple if they ask each other.
Okay.
And then
What
they can
if
both
the moment
feel
is
the
without
true response.
If there is a situation that the words cannot be spoken, it's just like, let's say it's a dancing place or is I don't know, like you're by the beach or something, it's just the energy is there. And which moment you know that the woman shouldn't really make any effort, like that just the sacral chakra is responding.
Wait to get a signal. Right. Okay, you get a signal. You get a signal from him. You mean he's like looking at you, and then let your body move forward, but then you can signal him back, ask him back, really? Or something, some way that you negotiate that. That's what human design says. Okay, so we went way too long, because I don't know when to stop. So that's because I have open sacral, I tend to go on way too long. So thank you, everybody. And we see you next week. And I will send you some information about these open centers so that you have it. And this is really one of the hugest pieces in human design, is to start noticing when you are in an open center and you are muddling around in there trying to make something happen. It happens all the time. Okay, I'm gonna.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and see you next week.
Oops.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you, everyone.